someone sent me an emoji. I got an emoji. Someone sent me of bread and eggs. I was trying to figure out, what is this guy trying to tell me? Bread and eggs. So he said, Erev Tavshilin. Because Yitis Kislev, we call Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus. And when when Yontif falls out on Thursday and Friday and Shabbos, or Friday Shabbos, so you have to make Erev Tavshilin. You have to, in order to allow you to cook from Friday to Shabbos. So Erev Tavshilin is with bread and eggs. So although Halacha doesn't mandate Erev Tavshilin, you're allowed to cook on Friday regularly. But he did wake me up a little bit to realize that this is really Rosh Hashanah. Yitis Kislev is the inner dimension of Rosh Hashanah, because on Yitis Kislev, Hashem gave us the inner dimension of the Torah, which explains the real purpose of why man is in this world. And it's remarkable to have a pre-farbrengen. Chassidim say in Rosh Hashanah, you blow the shofar. How do you blow the shofar on Yitis Kislev? What's the blowing of the shofar? You have a farbrengen. So, although the day before Rosh Hashanah you don't blow the shofar, right? That's the day you don't blow the shofar. But I find it's very beneficial to have a farbrengen before Rosh Hashanah. I'm sure that Sutton could get confused by a by a farbrengen too. So, l'chaim. She has all the preparation of Shoshana till Chassidus, and Shoshana Tiskisuv itself, and the following should be Shoshana Tova, B'lima Chassidus, V'darka Chassidus, T'kaseva Sechasemu. Chaim. In the last Hayom Yom of the year, the Rebbe writes that the Tzemach Tzedek said that we would hear from the Alter Rebbe saying many times he would fall to the floor sometimes in a state of rapture, in a state of dekut, spiritual rapture, and he would say a verse in Tehillim and Psalms from chapter 73. Who do I have in heaven? Who do I want in the earth? I don't want your Gan Eden. I don't want your heaven. I don't want your world to come. All I want is you alone. That's what the Alter Rebbe said. So even though this is the level of the Alter Rebbe, but since this was given to us by our Rebbe in the Hayom Yom, there's something from this that we're able to, a little bit of this, we're able to tap into. Especially today, when we learn this in the Hayom Yom, we think about it, we're able to tap into this. And this is really, it's not just a high level in serving Hashem, it's really something which gives us a sense of inner peace. This week's Torah portion talks about Yaakov wanting to be in a state of inner peace. A lot of times, there are people who feel they're reaching their breaking point. They're reaching their breaking point because there's so many things going on that are giving them pressure, and they can't handle it, and they want to get off the merry-go-round or the roller coaster or whatever it is, and then something else happens, another thing happens, and they just want to get off. You ever meet someone like that? People say, Rabbi, I just want to get off. I just want to relax. Can you don't want a Chabad who could just go to for a couple of days and just sleep and eat and relax, just some Chabad. And other people, interesting, they go to a vacation, they get off from work, they go, they have a fun time at first, but then a couple of days go by, and they get angry at themselves, and they're depressed. What am I doing here? Why am I here? I have nothing to do. It's just such a waste of time. In other words, on the one hand, we want to get off of all the pressures. On the other hand, the pressures themselves are a distraction sometimes. Dr. Avram Tursky, he wrote many, many books. And he said, all of my books are the same book I wrote 90 times. That's not 90 books, it's one book I wrote 90 times. What was the book about? He wrote a book about a vacation that he had. He was a very prominent psychiatrist. He was given some kind of vacation. He was given as a tribute to what he was doing. I don't remember exactly how he got this vacation. He got this vacation. On the vacation involved going to these mineral baths. And there was something, a very healthy thing to do. And the mineral bath remedy, cure, was you have to go in there for like 2 hours. And he couldn't handle more than 10 minutes of it. He gets out, he's all angry, and like, no, you sure you have to stay there for 2 hours. 2 hours is another 10 minutes. I gotta get out of here. And he couldn't figure out why he had to get out of there. And then he realized, you don't like being around someone you don't like. And he realized he didn't like himself. and since he didn't like himself, so when he was busy working, he had a distraction from himself. But when he was on this vacation, it's supposed to be a vacation, but it wasn't a vacation because he was forced to face some inner turmoil that he had with himself. He didn't like being around himself, and that was the issue. There's a beautiful teaching of the Malbim. Say every day in the davening, a verse: "Yehi shalom b'chelech, shalva b'nosayich." There should be peace in your wall, and then there's another word for peace, shalva, and that should be in your mansion. So the Malbim explains there is the wall around the city. There's a wall around the whole city. The wall around the whole city is what protects the city. But then there is your own mansion where you live. That's something else. So there is a kind of peace you have when things that you want to change are the way you want them to be. You are concerned about various things that every human being is concerned about, and you want things to be peaceful. You don't want to have to worry about health. You don't want to have to worry about earning a livelihood. You want to, and so when all those things are in order, that's your wall. The outer wall around you is peaceful. But the bracha that we ask for is not just it should be external peace, that all the things that we want should be in the way they are, but it should be an inner peace. Because if I'm only at peace because all these things are the way I want them to be, that's not really peace. And not only that, even while I have those things, I'm concerned they might go away. If my inner peace is dependent upon what I have, so first of all, what I have always changes, and what I want always changes, and so that's not really inner peace. So the question is it possible to, on the one hand, be involved in all the things we're involved in all the time, which brings us anxiety and pressure, and not to have anxiety and pressure, and to feel good, to walk around feeling good. Rabbi tourists get a problem going on vacation, and not everyone can go on the vacation, and then there are people which they have incredible angst and frustration in all the stuff they're doing. So can we have both? Can we be involved in our day-to-day stuff and still feel this inner peace? And that's what Yaakov wanted, the inner peace. Vayeshev Yaakov, the Torah says, was in a state of inner peace. In other words, Yaakov's peace wasn't, he was at peace because his kids got married. He was in peace because he got the house he was looking for. That's not peace. The real peace, as the Malbim says, Shalva b'nosayich, your inner peace, that you have peace inside yourself. As King Solomon said, it's better to have a piece of dry bread with peace in it than to have a bayit maliriv, to have a house full of delicacies where there's an argument. Just to open our eyes a little bit to the concept, the previous Rebbe, when he was imprisoned, I heard one story today. Actually, I heard two stories today, which I'll share with you. The first story is, the previous Rebbe was arrested 7 times. So this story which I'm sharing with you, I just heard today, I'm not sure which imprisonment this was. The previous Rebbe was arrested once on Matzai Shabbat, after Shabbat, and he wanted to do Havdalah. And although the KGB and the GPU are in the room, Havdalah. And the Havdalah, the custom is, he's supposed to overflow the cup, right? And he picks the cup up, and not one drop spilled. Completely relaxed, completely at peace. That's one story. Another story I heard today, the previous Rebbe, when he was in prison, this is printed, this one I know, Lulav, one of the members of the Evsektia, that was a Jewish organization, a branch of the KGB and the GPU, that was bent on destroying, uprooting any vestige of Judaism, any vestige of faith in Hashem. They wanted to tear the schools, all the schools, and he told the previous Rebbe on one occasion in his imprisonment, he said, in 24 hours, you will be shot, Chas V'Shalom. 24 hours you'll be shot. So the previous Rebbe said, it didn't make me eng. Eng is a Yiddish word. How do you say eng in Farsi? It didn't pain me. It didn't sting me. Why? Because a Yid machnet eng. Because a Jew does not make me have angst. A Jew can't sting me. If it's coming from a Jew, it doesn't sting me. Imagine, here is a Jew who's going to kill, and he wants to kill, and he said, we're going to kill. Because it's a Jew. He didn't feel anything untoward in this guy's remarks. So how do you do that? That's a previous Rebbe. What can we, the Alter Rebbe said, I don't want anything but you alone. What can we, how do we relate to this? So there's a fascinating medrash in this week's Torah portion. It says that Yaakov saw all of the children of Esav, Torah says, and it's analogous, says the medrash, to seeing a pack of dogs. Seeing all of the genealogy of Esav, discussed in last week's Torah portion, for Yaakov, like seeing a pack of dogs. So it's a scary thing to be around a pack of dogs. Scared of a pack, not just one dog, a pack of dogs. So what did Yaakov do when he's around the pack of dogs? You know what the Medrash says? No, you don't know? Unbelievable. Yaakov sat down next to the dogs, and the dogs ran away. That's what the Medrash says. What does that mean? Why would anyone sit down next to the dogs? If the dogs are ferocious, biting dogs, why sit down next to the dogs? And why did the dogs go away when you sit down next to them? What does that mean? That made Esav leave. So the Medrash continues. When Yaakov settled in Israel, then Esav and everyone else left. The Torah says these are the kings before the Jewish people came to Israel. Once the Jewish people come to Israel, all the dogs, all of Esav goes away. What does that mean? So I want to share an idea. An idea can really lift up us to a different place, especially as now we're approaching the 19th of Kislev. Every year on this day, it's a day when it's not just a personal redemption of the Alter Rebbe, but it's a redemption for each of us. The day that Hashem gave each of us, v'chayet nafshenu, the light and the life of our lives. Every year there's a new light of Hashem that comes down on this year, on the 19th of Kislev, a light that was greater than ever before. And this light gives us personally, each of us, v'chayet nafshenu. The language of the Rebbe Rashab about the Ditas Kislev is, this is the holiday, Asher Poda B'Shalom Nafshenu V'Or V'Chayet Nafshenu Litamanu. This is the holiday that our souls were redeemed in peace, and the light and life of our souls was given to us. What does that mean? What was given to us by these teachings of Chassidus? What are we able to discover? What does that look like? When Hashem made the world, right? Everything in the world is very complex. Look in the world, you see the people spend their whole life studying creation and can spend many lifetimes studying creation and you never finish. But there's one creature among all of Hashem's creatures that's different than all the others. And that is man. Unlike all other creatures, every other creature is like a robot. It functions a certain way, and that's the way it can't veer from that. But Hashem gave a person, a human being, this ability to make a difference, to change something, to have free choice, to inject something into the world. Just like man himself is a soul in a body, a neshama, a godly soul in a body, so too when a Jew gives charity to someone else, it's not just giving a coin to someone else, you're bringing down the light of Hashem's kindness into the world. When you study Torah, not just you're learning more Torah, you're bringing down the light of Hashem's wisdom into the world. You're changing the world. You yourself, every person is a soul in a body. Hashem put in a physical, material, earthy body. There was one of Chassid, the Ashpat, who said, a body, a Jew, is a Chacham Datzilus, is the highest level of the highest spiritual world, in a sack of hot blood and bones. That's what man is. Man is the holiest thing in a body. And therefore man has this ability also to do the same thing. To every mitzvah, that's what it does. It brings on the infinite light of Hashem in the physical world. So, there's a friend of mine, I'm sure you remember this story if you heard it once, because it's an amazing story. Morris Weingarten told me about his father, his grandfather, was very prominent in Breslov Chassid. And every morning, he woke up, and he put his feet on the floor. He took care of his grandfather. He put his feet on the floor, and he said, Anes, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. And then he stood up, a miracle. And he took a step, a miracle. And they started to dance. A miracle, I'm walking, I'm walking. It's a miracle of Hashem. He would dance. Thank you, Hashem, I could walk. It's a different way of living, right? So we don't realize, it says in Ethics of Our Fathers, these words. And you can hear these words in two different ways, depending on where you are. Ethics of Our Fathers, there's a line, there's an eye that sees you, there's an ear that hears you, and everything you do is written down. So what do we feel as Jews? We have all our own, we're annoyed, we're toxic. What do we think? He wants to get us. He wants to zap us. Everything, he's looking at me. He's looking at me, his eye that sees me. He's listening to me. He's writing it down. It's like we think that the Mishnah is saying God is like this cop, which is such a bee. You know what I'm saying? That's what we hear. We hear the Mishnah. What's the Mishnah really saying? You know how precious you are to Hashem? There's an eye that not just looks at you, it sees who you are in the circumstances that you're in. And Hashem hears you. It's like, you know what the Mishnah is really saying? Mishnah is really saying that when parents and their child makes the first step, look at my Yingle, he made a step. One step he took. Amazing. That's what Hashem is telling us, that you have a mission in this world. There's no one like you in history. No one has been like you, and no one will ever be like you. And you have a unique mission Hashem wants you to do, and and it's valuable to you. There's a pasuk in the Torah. What does it say in the Torah? Ahavti eschem amar Hashem. I love you, Hashem says. As Baal Shem Tov explains that every one of us to Hashem is like an only child born to parents in their old age, and even more precious. Every morning we say in our prayers, Ava Selam or Ava Rabba, how great the love Hashem has for each of us. So we have to realize every morning we wake up, there's a new opportunity. And this is this thing we see in parents and children, that parents are so excited the kid makes a step. Why are parents so excited? Parents are so excited because what's the source of parents and children? Where do parents and children come from? Parents and children come from? No? Where does the whole concept of a father and a child, where does that start? Who's the first father, who's the first child? Hashem and the Jewish people are the prototype of there might be burgers upstairs, I bet. Want to check? Oh, good. Okay. The reason why parents are why a father loves a child and why a child loves a father, because every child and every father comes from Hashem and the Jewish people. Because Hashem loves a Jew, therefore a father loves a child. And because a Jew loves Hashem, therefore a child loves a father. And actually, it says that uniquely, the Jewish people have more love for their children. And it says it because we're more analogous to the analog of where love comes from. Love comes from Hashem's love for the Jewish people, from our love to Hashem. Therefore, Jewish parents have more love for their children than others. So, this is the reality. This is the light and life of our souls that we able to experience through Chassidus. We have to experience that the light means that you have to see where you are. Imagine you could live your whole life. It says that a person is like a world. A person is parallel to the whole world. And Avram and Avram.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. No, your story gives some insight about what I'm trying to say. You know the story of Avram and Avram? Oh, yes, you do. This guy's name is Avram and Avram. So I want to tell you the story of Avram and Avram, which gives us some insight. The Vilna Gaon asked to be buried next to the ashes of Avram and Avram. Avram and Avram was a non-Jew who wanted to convert to Judaism. And when he converted to Judaism, he was taken to the stake, and he was smiling. And the people taking him to the stake, because the reason why they took him to the stake is he was the son of Count Potocki, and it was a grave sin to convert to Judaism, and therefore he was going to be burned and killed. And the Vilna Gaon wanted to be buried next to his ashes. So before he was killed and burnt, they saw he was smiling, and they're asking, "Why are you smiling? You probably think that when you get to the other side, and you pass away, you get to the other side, your God's going to zap us then. Now, on this side of the world, we're in charge. We probably think we get to the other side, he'll be able to zap us." That's what they said to him. And he responded to them. He said, when I was a little child, my father went on a trip. My father bought me a beautiful chess set with glass and ivory, and I had to play the game of chess with my friend, and I won the game, and my friend was so upset that I won, they started breaking the pieces. He broke one piece, a second piece, a third piece, and I decided then, as a child, this Avram and Avram was saying when he was a kid, I was thinking to myself, when I become the count, when I take over my dad, I'm going to take this boy, I'm going to put him in jail. I'm going to kill him. How dare he break my chesed? So he said, that's what I thought when I was a child. But now he said, you're telling me that I am thinking about how to get vengeance on you when I get to heaven. You're looking at things with just such a tiny perspective of where he is. He is giving his life to Hashem. He has a merit to give his life to Hashem. You think I'm thinking about vengeance, thinking about getting back. We look at kids. A kid gets upset. Someone takes his toy. A kid gets upset, and we're like, "Wow, this little kid doesn't get it." We laugh at the kid; he gets so upset. But adults are not that much different. We have things. You want to know who you are? You want to know who you are? What makes you upset? If someone takes away your doesn't respect you, someone doesn't show you respect, that bothers you. You know what that tells you? That tells you that you're into respect. If someone, if you lose money, you're upset you lost money, that tells you you're into money. You want to know, there's no Talmud, there's no one who's wealthy except for wealthy in knowledge. Wealthy in knowledge means we're able to choose what attitude to take about things. You could decide that your life is not about the car, your life is not about the money, your life is not about the getting respect from people. But that's the meaning of Or v'chayit nafshenu, the light and the life of our soul was given to us. Chassidus gives us the real perspective to open up our minds, open up our hearts, to realize to not live in the world of jealousy, of rivalry, of lust, not live in that world. There's a line in Ethics of Our Fathers that says, jealousy and passion takes a person out of the world. The simple meaning of it is, your jealousy will drive you crazy until you do stupid things, until it kills you. But a deeper meaning of this is, when you're in a jealous state, you're not living in the same world as everybody else. When you're living in the world of jealousy. There was one Fabrengen, and they were singing by the Fabrengen, Ashreinu Matev Chalkeinu, how fortunate we are, how good is our portion. This boy, 26-year-old boy by the Fabrengen, started to cry. He had some issues in his Judaism, made a lot of different mistakes in his life, and he's singing this song. Everyone's, if I bring him, we sing together, and they're singing this song. He realized, I really wasted my whole life. Imagine, Avram, you're in a mansion, but the lights are off. You think you're living in a dungeon, and all of a sudden lights come on because you're living in a mansion. That's the meaning of Or v'chayit nafshenu. That you have to realize that you have a mission from Hashem, and you all of a sudden leave that dungeon. The Torah says that man's like the world, right? There are places in the world you visited, places in the world you haven't visited. It's possible in yourself that you're living in a dark street in yourself, and you're not living in your palace. Rabbi Steinsaltz, he said, a man is like a skyscraper. You can live in the basement, the rats are. You can live in the skyscraper, in the penthouse. So we could live with the jealousy and the frustration, or we could think about, a lot of times people, and even in work, they lose their courage. They're not able to make a step. They're afraid to say something. They're so timid because of past mistakes, because of their failures. If we have the perspective Chassidus wants to give us, we realize the preciousness of the circumstances, exactly where we're in, and the mission Hashem gives us exactly where we are in the place we're in, the time we're in, and the light we're able to create. We're able to realize how precious we are to Hashem, how every move we make, there is an eye that sees us, there's an ear that hears us, and someone who writes it down forever because it matters to him. What makes us so upset with our failures is because we don't realize that we're still in Hashem's hands. You never leave the GPS system, God's positioning system. Wherever you go, you go in the wrong direction, but you're still able to should be able to fix it up. This is Or v'chayit nafshenu. The light and life of our lives is the ability to rise above the here and now and to realize what really matters. We all have noise in our heads. And Chassidus gives the ability to differentiate between the noise and what's really valuable, what really matters. When someone scratches your car, do you go crazy? Is that what your life is about? We could choose to widen our perspective, to open up our minds, and even though, I got upset because someone disrespected me, I got upset because someone scratched my car, but I could say to myself, is that the life, is that the street I want to live in my world? Is that where I want to live? Or do I want to live like Avram and Avram? Do I want to live with Kiddush Hashem? Do I want to live with my shlichut, the mitzvah, the purpose of why Hashem put my soul in the world? It's like you're driving a car, and you're driving it on first gear. And you drive, and this is as far as it goes. But there's another gear. There's another gear. It's a good thing every day to spend time and think about your neshama. Think about your godliness. Think about your soul. Think about who you really are. To stop every day and to think, what is a perspective of my neshama on how does my soul see things? So sit with your soul every day. To stop and sit with your soul and think of what it's like from your soul's perspective. You ever thought about that? What does a soul see in hamburgers and French fries? What does your neshama think of what's going on over here? How does your soul visualize learning Torah? How does your soul visualize what the meaning of eating is? How does the soul visualize what earning a livelihood is? How does the soul think about it? There is a way I think about it as a human being, but I don't have to live in the bottom floor where the rats are. I could go to a higher floor. So when we spend those 10 minutes in that place, even though we come back to ourselves, we're different. It's like when you go on a vacation to some island somewhere where everyone acts differently than people do in LA, you come back, but you're different because you were spent some time in a different place. That's what Shabbos is. Shabbos is a island in time. You go to a different place and different environment. That's what Shabbos is. So every day, Chassidus is the soul of the Torah, and Chassidus invites us to go inside your soul, to go inside who you really are, to turn off the noise, to go deeper. There's a Jew whose name is David Lapin. He's from South Africa. In the 60s, he was a rabbi, and he started a sort of, he was one of the pioneers of inspiring many people to do teshuvah, to return to observant Judaism in South Africa. And he also had a very successful business. And it was taking up a lot of time. And he said it was like having 2 full-time jobs. And he wasn't sure what to drop or how to do it. He wasn't sure what to do. Should he focus on being the rabbi of the community, or should he focus on his business? He wanted to speak to a Jew who he felt had a broader perspective on life. So he went to the Rebbe. And he asked the Rebbe, what do you think I should do? Should I drop my business, or should I drop my position as this rabbi in this shul? What would you tell him? Some people say, for sure, drop your business. That's more important. Being a rabbi is more important. Some people say, no, you have to keep your family to have the best lifestyle, and you have to focus on your business, and this will earn you more money. Maybe different ways of answering this question. But if we stop and think what our perspective is, then we could think about what the Rebbe's perspective is, and hear what the Rebbe says. Maybe the Rebbe answered him. The Rebbe answered him, no, I don't guess. I want to guess.
Do both.
Do both.
Keep on doing both.
Right. That's what the Rebbe said. Do both and increase. Do more in your business. Do more in your... And the Rebbe was telling him that his business is not just a way to earn a livelihood, but his business is a way to spread Hashem's name more, because as a businessman, he has a way to connect to people that other people can't connect to. That's what the Rebbe said. And he was so surprised what the Rebbe says. He just blurted out, you're not being realistic. You're not being realistic. This is impossible what you're saying. It's not realistic. I appreciate your compliment. You think I could be Superman. I could do more and more and more and more and more and more. But I can't. I can't do more and more and more and more and more. It's a beautiful teaching. The Rebbe didn't say this, but the ethics of our father, of Hasidic masters, about this week's Torah portion, it says, who is the child of Yaakov? Yosef. What does Yaakov mean? What does Yosef mean? Yosef means add, to do more. What does Yaakov mean? Yaakov means to be humble. What makes us feel satisfied where we are? We're not so humble. When we're humble, we realize how much more we need to do. That makes us want to add more and more and more. And the Torah says, who is the one child of Yaakov? Yosef. It means every Jew has to realize you have to increase and go higher than where you were yesterday. Who is the child of Yaakov? Every Jew is the child of Yaakov. Every Jew has to be like Yosef, has to add. If you're not going higher, you're falling. That's how life is. Like it or not, stationary is not an option. If you're not doing better today than you were yesterday, you are at risk of falling. I didn't make this up. I'm not sure it sounds so comfortable. Doesn't sound so comfortable to keep on moving, keep on going, but that's the reality. But what makes us go higher is Yaakov. Yaakov means a heel. Your humility, that you're like a heel, that makes you do more. So let me tell you what the Rebbe told him. The Rebbe said to him, could I share with you what I think your difficulty is? The Rebbe said, you look at human interactions as a chemical interaction. When two elements meet, so they produce a third thing. Everything in this example, but for example, hydrogen and oxygen, right? H2O is water, right? H2O. So it creates a third thing. There's a compound element by these two chemicals interacting. However, the Rebbe said, the interaction between people is not a chemical interaction, it's a nuclear interaction. When there's a nuclear interaction, what happens is that something, you have to view it, the reality is that when you have an interaction with someone, you're interacting with their heart, like a nuclear reaction which is touching the nucleus, the center of something, which automatically affects the entire circumference of the entire atom. In the same way, when you touch someone's heart, the Rebbe says, basically, you're not just affecting them, you're affecting all around them, their whole being. So, what the Rebbe basically said is that you don't realize the impact you're having on people. You don't realize what you're doing. You touch someone's heart, you touch another person, you're affecting everything around them. He said, when I speak to 50 people, I know I'm affecting at least 150 people. Because you affect someone. That person interacts with other people, and they interact with other people. You know what you're doing when you affect someone. So what did Rabbi do with this over here? Rabbi explained to him the real impact he was having and the real value of what he was doing. And that made him realize like how much he has to invest in it and how much he has to care about it. And this is the exact opposite of where he was before, which was, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, it's all feeling, I have no time, because he didn't realize the value of his mission. This is the meaning of Yaakov, sitting with the dogs. What did we say before? Yaakov is like analogous to a person who sees all these dogs, and what does he do when you see all these dogs? You sit down next to the dogs. We all know that the saying that dogs only bark at someone who is afraid of them, right? Yaakov sat down next to the dogs. Yaakov said basically that I'm not living in the space of the dogs. What it means practically is this. A couple is having a hard time earning a livelihood. They could live with that frustration of the bank. A teacher goes into a disobedient, chutzpah class. They could feel, I'm going to this terrible class. A mother is trying to wake up her children to go to school. She could feel, I am up against this impossible scenario to make everyone's lunches and their snacks and they're not getting up. Or a couple could feel, we're building our home together. A teacher could feel, I am now planting seeds that are going to turn into trees, which will plant more seeds forever. You could choose what environment you live in. You could look at the dogs. You could look at the kids who are throwing spitballs and whoopee cushions and all kinds of things that are doing crazy around you. Or you could think about what the reality is of what you're doing. What are you doing? You are building Jewish people. You're doing a mission of Hashem. So this is the idea of sitting down next to the dogs, and you're in the same space. The problem hasn't been solved, but you're living in a different space. Like Mendel Futerfas famously gave the parable of a tightrope walker. Mendel Futerfas, when he was in prison, they had a day where they allowed all the prisoners in Siberia to do stunts, and one of the prisoners was working in the circus, and he told Mendel that I could walk on a tightrope. And Mendel didn't believe it. They never heard of it. I mean, who went to a circus in Russia in those days? A tightrope is impossible. But the guy, sure enough, when they had this day of this doing stunts, the guy put up this tightrope between two trees, and he walked on the rope, and it comes down. You see, I did it. Mendel says, so tell me your trick. How'd you do it? How do you do it? So he told Mendel, when I walk on the rope, I don't look down. I look at the opposite end of where I need to go to, and I focus on where I'm on the nakuda, on the point of what I'm trying to do. I focus on the point. And the hardest part, he said, is the turn. When I turn around, I have to first look on the other side where I'm going to go, the next point I'm going to go. I have to visualize it and put my mind in this point where I can't see it and turn around. In other words, what he was saying was, you have to focus on the goal of what you're trying to do. Focus on what Or V'chayit Nafshenu Litamanu means to focus on the light and life of my life, that Hashem loves me, that I have a mission in this world, that where I am matters, and I'm not going by myself, and Hashem is holding my hand. And that makes you not be afraid of the dogs. That makes the dogs go away. When you go into the place of the dogs, not the dogs are not there, but you're looking somewhere else. It's like Yosef. Yosef, this Torah portion, with the wife of Potiphar, grabbed his coat. He left his coat in her hands and runs away. He left the thoughts that he had before. He left whatever he was before. Why? He pictured the point for him was his father Yaakov. His father Yaakov was always connected to Hashem. And that whatever was going on in the world didn't matter. He was so pure and so holy that all the trivial things didn't matter to Yaakov. Yosef put his eyes, he saw a picture of his father, he said, I know it, I can let go of all these things. I can let go of the foolish things. That's the meaning of the skills of the day of redemption, day of freedom. The day which lifts us above the here and now, allows us to connect to what we're really about. And we have to have that nukud, we have to have that point, to know where we're going. We're going towards the coming Mashiach. That's all that matters. That's why Hashem put us in this world, to build a home for Hashem in this world. We've put our eyes on the point, especially now when it's so obvious that we're approaching the time of the coming Mashiach, the goodness and sweetness of coming Mashiach already coming in the world. Where he's seeing so much goodness and sweetness in the world, we got to keep our eyes on the goal and not get distracted. L'chaim v'rachas. Remember, it's a chag ha'gula. The gula for each of us and all of Am Yisrael, Karav Mamish. Mashiach Tzidkeinu. L'chaim v'rachas.